Gagrani. I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school. Something I'm really excited about is I am working on my first novel. So I'm officially, as of like 30 minutes ago, a third through my like word count that I've set for myself.
Oh my goodness. I'm really
Yes.
excited to learn about this. I think it'll come in the questions that I ask you,
I hope
but
it
if it
will.
doesn't come up, then I'm definitely going to ask you about this later on. Um, Moving on, my first question is if you were to tell me a talent or like a skill that you possess that you feel like no one knows about you, super niche, what would that be?
Well, there's a couple that I think that no one knows about me. But
Okay.
something I think that's really good is I am super good as I kind of like your job. Like I'm really good at getting to know people.
Okay.
I I volunteer at a women's clinic.
Oh,
So
nice.
I got really good at small talk and I got really good at figuring out like social cues that I think people can't even pick up on yet. Like do people want water? Are people hungry? Is there bad mood because of the weather? Like I get really good at cracking exactly what's going on with people.
Nice. Super like intuitive is like
Yes.
I love that. That's a really good skill to have just in general. Do you feel like you've honed that or do you feel like you've always
Yeah. No,
had
I
that?
think I've honed that because I was
Okay.
so awkward as a kid. I was so
Oh,
awkward as a kid. Total opposite. And like weirdly enough, I think the pandemic like reverse that. I know for a lot of people it was the other way around. I think a lot of my friends like they were more social and they got more reserved because of the pandemic. I feel like it was the opposite. Like the pandemic made me realize that like I don't want to be awkward and isolated anymore
oh
after I
my
was like forced.
that's a new take to that because honestly I've only ever heard people like who are like I can't speak to a human being anymore. I don't know how to.
Yeah, no,
So
it
I
made
love
me
that.
want to get so good at talking to people. Once
Yeah.
I realized that like, oh, no, I need it back. I need it back. I need it back.
Uh-huh. You don't know how important it is until it's taken away from you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
human connection is so necessary. No, I fully agree with
absolutely.
that. Okay. Tell me about an accomplishment or like a personal project that you are either currently working on or have worked on that you're super proud of working on and why.
Mhm. Well, I just mentioned my novel, but here's another thing that
Okay.
I've been working on. I have this short film that I wrote about like 7 or 8 months ago. We just wrapped up on filming about it 2 weeks. I've just started the editing process. So we're working on it. But something I'm really proud of, like in specific regards to that, is beyond just like the creative journey and creating something, the team management skills that it takes to produce a short film are crazy.
Right.
Like getting everyone scheduled to work, cold emailing people to get like reservations for sets, reservations for costumes,
Yeah.
props. Stuff like that is I think like honestly, that was harder than the actual like writing and creating of like the creative process. I mean, for me at least. I think for some people it might be the other way around. But for
Right.
me it was like those were skills that like I had to like Google like, "Oh my God. Okay, I need a cold email.
Template.
Google, let me know."
Yes.
Yeah. Like that was a skill that I think I'm proud of myself for developing because like it's taken me so far, like even in the last couple of months,
Right.
like learning how to communicate with a team and get everyone on the same page and like walk them through a whole 8 month long project and keep everyone excited and committed.
What was the film about, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, oh my God, I would love to tell you. So it's called The Trial of Helen of Troy. I'm a big classic literature fan, and a classic
Okay.
as in like Greek and Roman classical, like antiquity period,
Right.
if that means anything to you. So one of my favorite, obviously, bodies of work is the Iliad.
Okay.
So I was reading a different translation of the Iliad. Hold on, I don't want to get this wrong. It was by Emily Wilson, and
Okay.
she's one of the first women I think to ever fully translate the Iliad. So
Oh,
it reads differently than like male translators um, translations.
right. Yeah, yeah.
It
Of
like
course.
wording she chooses in regards to female characters, how much agency she gives them, how much
Oh,
victimhood on the other hand she like ascribes to them. So I was reading her translation and it felt different to the story I'd been told before, and it just made me like super interested in specific the regards to the character Helen of Troy, but there's other characters examined in the short film. Just like how different perspectives can make their behaviors seem different, cultures different, like specifically translations,
Yeah.
um, and how the truth can be sort of warped by that, but also specifically how that truth can be warped because of like male socialization or
Ah,
like the patriarchy.
yeah.
Um, it was super fun.
That's
It sounds really serious when I describe it, but it was more campy, like
yes.
when we were filming.
That's super is that for like a school project or is it just something you
It
wanted
was
to do?
school club, school club.
Oh, nice. Okay. Wow, that's like a big project for a high school
It
club.
was huge. That's why it was like there was like 20, 25 people involved, like
Wow.
directly on the team. And there was more people outside that were involved sort of
Yeah.
distantly. So it was like communicating with like adult staff that were going to help us get
Right.
materials and like actual actors. We had about 12 actors.
Wow. So it wasn't
So,
just like this like the students acting in it?
yeah, yeah, it was students acted in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. Oh my gosh. When that releases, please send me a link. I'd love to watch
Oh my
that.
God, of course.
That seems so interesting. But tell me about your novel. I'm very interested in that
I would
too.
love to. Okay, so I I'm a big literature is my great and first love. Like
Okay.
it got me into I think like it like legitimately made me who I am. Like I wouldn't be who I was if I wasn't a reader as a kid.
Yeah.
And say this to everyone, but I cannot over exaggerate it. So one of my favorite stories of all time beyond like Greek and Roman myths is Alice in Wonderland.
Oh.
I love it's very specific. It's kind of silly, but it's nonsensical in a way that like Lewis Carroll like can lie to you while like telling you the most dead sentence. And I
Yes.
have you heard this theory? Hold on. This is a little yappy of me, but Lewis
No.
Carroll was a mathematician.
Okay.
So there's this theory that Alice in Wonderland was actually his exploration of mathematical concepts, and that's why it's
Oh.
so nonsensical, is because it's not actually like a work of literature. It's him like coding mathematics into a way that's understandable, but like it's like been like lost.
Oh my goodness. That
Yeah, no, it's super cool.
that makes me rethink
It's super
everything.
cool.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite like literature theories of all time. I'm obsessed with it. I think about it all the time.
Okay.
But Alice in Wonderland, I came up with the concept because I was sort of like putting together a lot of pieces of work at the same time. I was rereading Alice in Wonderland. I was watching the musical Cabaret. Wicked had just come out, and I
Oh.
was sort of like putting together pieces in my head. And I've always wanted to write like books. Like I've always wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I finally was like, okay, I've just got to start. Let's brainstorm. And I sat down. Literally, it was the most cliche thing. I sat down at my like local coffee shop and I
Oh.
got out like actual paper and pen and I was like, okay, let's do it then.
Yeah.
And I came up with this concept for this novel called Princess of Hearts, which is like exploring sort of the strangeness that like Alice loves Wonderland so much, but she returns home. And in my research, and I'm a researcher, I love academia, I love research. I don't know if you can tell, but
I love
I
it.
was I was looking into Alice in Wonderland and I came across this thing where Dorothy's Adventures in Oz
Okay.
was very, very similar to Alice to the point where people thought it was directly inspired by Alice in Wonderland because it's a really similar story.
Yeah, I can see that.
Little girl gets lost due to some incident in some magical world. She meets magical creatures. She goes through this journey, figures some stuff, some big truth out, returns
Mhm.
home. And it's a
Yeah.
very classical hero's journey. But what's strange about it is that the main character for both of these are little girls.
Yeah.
So there's slight like especially with Oz being the great American myth versus Wonderland being British. And I
Yeah.
was thinking about it in the context of like I put a lot of different lens on it, including like colonialism.
Okay.
And so when I was writing about it, I was like, okay, so Wonderland and Oz are essentially the same place. And I was trying like combining Alice's, sorry,
Yeah.
and Dorothy's story together. And
Oh.
that's sort of where the novel concept comes from.
Oh
And
my
what would
goodness.
happen if they sort of went into it together.
Oh my goodness. Can you hurry up and release this? I love reading, but I read like similar things like that, like fun like adventure stuff and like always a
Yes.
romance geek, but I feel like I would eat that up immediately. You need to release that immediately.
I'm working
I
on it. I'm working on it.
I can't wait. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm really glad I asked you about that because that's super, super, super interesting. And the fact that you're only 18, I'm impressed. If I was a judge,
I
I'd give you money on the
yeah.
spot.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. But like
No,
years of reading will do that to you.
yeah.
Like I
So,
remember I read one of my other like I actually no, I don't have the book anymore. One of my
oh,
friends borrowed it, but one of my favorite books is The Count of Monte Cristo. And I
okay.
read it. Do you know how long that book is? It's
It's
gigantic.
it's really
Yeah, but I
huge.
read it when I was I think in 6th grade for the first time.
Wow.
And I read it because it was the biggest book, and someone pointed to it and been like, "Fine, if you like reading so much, like pick
Yeah.
that one up." And I
Yeah.
did.
And you like
Yes, it was. It
yeah.
did burn me out from reading for like two solid months, but I still like reading something out of spite was like I still love The Count of Monte
Yeah.
Cristo so much.
No, sometimes you honestly for big books like that, audiobooks, sometimes we just need to be
I love
listening
an
to it.
audiobook.
Yeah, I
Love
love
an
audiobooks.
audiobook.
Yeah.
Do you know? Sorry, I
No, no,
am such a yapper.
no,
We're
I
like,
love yeah.
okay,
No, please.
but I am working on for my best friend's graduation gift. We're both seniors. We've been friends since we were in 5th grade. I am one of our favorite books. Uh, I'm making her an audiobook, like on like through like voice notes and stuff.
Stop. Of what
Yeah.
book?
So this is a little silly, but it's The Foxhole Court by
Oh,
Nora Sakovic.
what's
Yeah,
that?
it's no, it's one of the strangest books I've ever read. It's got that sort of nonsense literature tinge, but I can't even in good faith recommend it because I don't know if it's like a good book. But
Oh,
it's one of those books that made me and her so close because it was the kind of book where we were like, "Oh my God. I can't
you
believe
guys
someone
so
sat down
truly
and
bonded.
wrote that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you bonded over like the how. What is this book?
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you mean she wrote that down?
Oh my
On
gosh.
paper?
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll
But
read
oh
it.
my God. Yeah.
Okay. Well, obsessed. I know you mentioned that you are really big on like academia. Do you want to
Mhm.
study literature when you go to college? Or
I do.
are we doing something different?
Yeah. So I don't know what college I'm going to yet. I still obviously it's still February. I'm getting back, but I
Yeah.
am double majoring in each of my universities as classical lit major and as a neuroscience major, or if neuroscience wasn't available, as like biochemistry. I think for one school that like didn't have a like great biochemistry program, I think I applied as biophysics.
Okay.
Um, this is very specific, but even throughout literature, I do have a passionate love for academia and science and research.
Yeah.
There is, like, I feel like I would have less stories to tell about myself if I didn't love science so much. Like, it is sort of the way my brain's structured. Like, I think the way I like to describe it is like I think like a geometry proof.
Okay.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the kind of logical linear stance. That's
Yeah.
exactly how my brain works, and science is
Oh.
really in tune with that. Um, and I truly do like I'm fascinated by science and like medical science, so I am
Mhm.
double majoring when I go to college.
Okay, amazing. So I guess I kind of asked that just because my next question is when I give you the word education, what would
Hmm.
you define it as? In terms of like how you've lived your life or how you feel like it should be defined
Like in one sentence.
in a
Let me
sentence, couple
think.
words, whatever you want.
An exploration of the world is what I think it means to me personally.
Yeah.
I think an education gives you sort of the tools to explore the world yourself. I don't think it's always what people describe as like memorization. My favorite classes are more so someone telling, like, asking you a really good question and then telling you to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of my favorite teachers, I think, never told me anything but asked me really good questions
Okay.
and let
Okay.
me ask questions in return.
Yeah.
And so I guess in that way, education is like it's a two-sided exchange of tools and resources and knowledge that leads you to explore the world on your own terms.
Do you feel like you have a topic or like a subject that you feel should be taught in majority of schools that just isn't?
Yeah, I have two.
Okay.
So first of all, we have to bring back home economics. Like we have to bring back home
Yes.
ec. That's one
Yeah.
of my first, that's like less of a, like, I think that's a topic, and that's more like a policy I think should be nationwide.
Right.
Because like my car battery died the other day. I should have learned how to jumpstart a car in
Yeah.
school.
No, 100%.
Like logically, like that should have been taught to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I 100% believe in home ec as like a like policy choice. But as
Yes.
for a topic that I think should be taught, I so think reproductive health. I know like health is
Mhm.
like a class, but I think we like gloss over reproductive health a lot of the times. And I think that is also one where I'm like we didn't need to separate the girls and boys back then when we were talking about the organs.
Yeah. They
They
should have
need
been
to
together.
know.
They need to be together and
Yeah,
the equal amount of information. And
absolutely.
yeah, I fully agree with you on that
Yeah.
one. Bring back home ec, 100%.
Bring back home ec.
Yeah. Okay. My next question is, do you have like a cause or a social issue that you're super passionate about?
Oh, I feel like this was already revealed with my last answer, but I'm really big on advocating for reproductive health and reproductive rights.
You can go ahead and
Um,
say.
yes, absolutely. I'm we have a local branch of people that fight for reproductive health, and I really stand for that. I participate with them. I try to communicate with people my own age, especially because I think we are a really vulnerable population when it comes to not really knowing about your own body and not
Right.
really knowing about your own anatomy. I think it's crazy that we don't like talk to people about what's inside themselves and what their body is capable of
Yes.
and like what their body may not be capable of. I think it's insane that we keep this.
No.
And I know that a lot of people argue with me that like the information is like readily available. Like how many people know to look? Like
Yes.
until it's too late.
Yes.
So I
Also,
think what's
everyone's different.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
People learn in different ways. People need to know different things.
Mhm.
What's like we need the manpower and the resources to be able to go to each person individually and be like, so what do you want to know? Here's what you need to know. Any
Yeah.
questions? Is there anything specific about your body that you have questions about? I'm
Yes.
taking college level embryology right now, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me why I didn't know how ovulation worked still, like formally, until like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. It's a hard topic. It's really
Yeah.
hard. It's something
Yeah.
I struggle with all the time. I'm like, what phase am I in? Why am I so tired?
No.
Oh, this makes sense.
Oh, my body is actually like the muscles in my
Yes.
entire lower abdominal region are
Or
compressing.
no, it's insane. When you see a
Yeah.
diagram of what
Oh
it
my
looks
God.
like on your period versus not, I'm like, that's inside of me?
Yeah.
No. Like,
Yeah.
what is
And
that?
oh my God. And do you know how like I've taken human anatomy also at a collegiate level. So I got
Yeah.
to hold I there's this thing called a cadaver lab. They have donated bodies. OSU has the most amazing anatomy
Oh,
program. I
amazing.
really advocate for it. But they have a human anatomy program where they have tons of donated human cadavers and we get to hold the organs
Oh, wow.
and we get to actually see them.
Yeah.
And the uterus is so much smaller
Then you'd
and
expect.
texturally different than you'd expect.
Right, right.
Yeah. Like it's
Ugh,
it's all muscle and it's so tiny.
oh my gosh. And it controls everything in a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything.
I I got to when I was working at the Women's Health Center, I also was in tandem sort of participating with maternal health. The first time I saw a C-section,
Oh, no.
yeah.
No. So my friend is she did like a she's in medical school, so she had to do like a block where she got to like see like a C-section happen, and she was like, it's the most gruesome thing that you can imagine. They
It's
literally
oh my God.
cut you open, yank you up, like
Stem to
they're not
stern. No, I'm
gentle at
kidding, not from
all.
there, but
No, no, no. But like mine as well, because you're literally cutting up a
yeah.
woman's entire
Yeah.
body and you're not even trying to be gentle. Like I understand
No,
because
cuz
I was
no,
that situation, but you guys, come on.
yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
And the depth of the cut scared me the
Yes.
first time.
So much
The
blood.
depth, it was insane. And
So
this is so gross, and stop me if this is too
no,
much,
no,
but the
please.
smell,
Oh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
like the smell got to me more than the visuals did.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We'll move
But
on.
it was crazy because like
Yeah.
the emergency OBs, I have so much respect for them because
So
like what a job.
and they have to do
What
that
a
under
job.
full pressure, like not only just like pressure off of like the person that they're operating on, but like you have a completely other life that you have to like
Yeah.
now take care
Two.
of too. And then you also have to think in the back of your mind, there is a waiting room of people that
Yeah.
like depend on these two individuals living. Like
Yeah.
it's insane. They're like families are a burden
Yeah.
on their chest consistently, and I
Yeah.
couldn't be me, but I applaud.
Superheroes.
Superheroes, literally.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Okay, my kind of last question is if you were to give me like a challenge or a series of challenges that you've kind of had to go through within your life, what would they be and how do you feel like they've really shaped you to the one I'm speaking to today?
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge, I can't assign it to you because I wouldn't want anybody to go through it. But I was
Okay.
so lonely as a kid. Like I was so isolated. I don't think I had any friends until about 5th grade, and even then it was like I like felt bad hanging out with her because I was like nobody else is going to hang out with you if I'm here. So I'm going to give you like some space because I want to make sure that your social life is also fine. And
Yeah.
then when I did make friends, I like and I was aware of it even at the time. I was sort of like I was the laughing stock. Like I was there for entertainment. Like I wasn't there because they liked me. And
Yeah.
like that is like it is like sort of a loop that runs on the back of your head, especially when you like does anybody like me?
Yeah.
Like am I like a fun person to be around? Like the way that that in particular will sort of even beyond like affecting your like self-confidence and self-value, but affect the way you're able to self-reflect, because suddenly all of your self-reflection is about like oh like it's about other people,
Yeah.
and it really breaks down like your like sense of self it like on its own.
Yeah.
But I do think that it did give me the chance to really focus on like I know myself so well now because I had to be so alone for a really long time, and I never got a chance to like be influenced sort of by like the socialization of like oh like what is she wearing, what does she look like that wasn't even an option for me
Yeah.
because like I was not talking to enough people. So I really could focus on things like antiquity myths and Alice in Wonderland per
Mhm.
se. Like it did give me an opportunity to build into an artist and I think a scientist in a way that I wouldn't if I was,
Yeah.
I think, less lonely.
100%. Do you feel like you kind of grew out of it, or do you still always have that feeling of like no one wants to be friends with me in the back of your mind? Just
Yeah.
because I feel like that is like if you were to give like a piece of advice to someone struggling with the same thing, what would you tell them if you would
Yeah.
be able to tell them something?
First of all, I will say that there are always avenues to find your people.
Hmm.
There are always opportunities to look for that you can find even one person that sort of understands where you're coming from and your history. And there are always like you must be looking for. I love that quote where you must be looking for the helpers because you there are always people who are looking out for you and
Yeah.
you have to focus on them. And another thing I think is like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think a lot of the times like that's the hardest lesson to learn is like one of my other favorite quotes that I don't even think this is advice. I think this is like you have to ingrain this into your soul.
Okay.
Is like do it scared. Like be
Oh,
scared, do it anyway.
yeah.
Like do it scared. And so like do it uncomfortable, do it scared, do it embarrassed, but do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is something that is so ingrained into me. Like so even if like sometimes there is like it's hard to get rid of. Like it's hard to get rid of the like I don't belong here. Like I don't fit in here. Like it's hard to get rid of that, but I think like do it even if you feel that way
Yeah. Who
because you never know like the opportunities that are lying ahead of you if you
yeah.
take that first step.
Did you like just come across that, or did someone in your life kind of present that to you?
Yeah. You know what? This is going to reveal a lot about me, but I saw it on Tumblr, actually.
Okay. You are
Yeah,
Tumblr.
I was a
I
huge
love that.
yeah. I think honestly that explains a lot about me, but I was a Tumblr girl. And so a lot of Tumblr's a wacky place. I think I was exposed to a lot on it that I shouldn't have been. But I do think like all of the best advice I've ever gotten has been from a Tumblr post.
Yeah. That's such a good piece of advice to be like, do it anyway. Do it
Yeah.
because you're scared. Because the
Yeah.
best things happen when initially you are hesitant about them. Not that
Yeah.
don't jump off a cliff, but
Obviously. Actually, I did go cliff jumping once, but
okay. If you're
yeah, it was totally safe. It was totally safe. There were so many people there. But no, it's thrilling.
yeah.
It's so hard. Like people who are like being lonely is such a tough place to be because human beings like need people. And when
Yeah.
you feel like that kind of isolation, when you feel like you're sort of like out of lockstep with your peers and there's not really a way, like I have like especially as a kid I was like, oh, everybody went to a class to learn how to be normal and I didn't, like I like skipped that day at school,
Aw.
you know. And
Yeah.
like I felt like that so profoundly where I was like I missed something that everybody else got and I'll never be in on that joke, like I'll never get in. But you can make your own jokes
Yeah. If
and you can,
no, I
yeah,
can
and you can walk to your own rhythm and you can like I I always say like conformity is like the opposite of excellence. Is like that is something that someone said to me that that's something that my school librarian actually Mr. Nunn said to me is that conformity is the opposite of intelligence. Or not
yes.
intelligence, sorry, excellence.
Excellent.
And like to be outstanding first you must stand out is something that he says a lot. Um
Love that. That gave me chills. I really love
Yeah,
that.
that's a really good one. That's a really good one. I have that on like post-it notes, I think, inside of my notebook, like my creative notebook.
Constantly reminding yourself.
Yeah. I think like it really helps me when I remember that like kids just like replicate the behavior that they see at home.
Yeah.
So like in my head I'm like deep down I went home to parents that completely understood me and got me and took
Yeah.
care of me and were completely accepting of who I was.
Yeah.
And they might not have.
Yeah. 100%.
And they might have seen.
No, seen. I know. I always make up words in my head and I'm like, add that to the dictionary. It
That
makes
was great. Absolutely.
yeah.
But anyway, they might have seen that behavior coming from their mom, their older sister, and I didn't see that behavior in my own home. So it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So
That was kind of my last like full question, but do you have anything you
Mhm.
want to add?
Yeah.
Okay.
I always like want to say that like ultimately even when I make art, I fully believe that you make art for other people. You
Yes.
make art so one day someone can pick up your book and be inspired by it and feel better about themselves or want to make art of their own, or even if they like just like have like a little giggle. Like I make art so that my community feels represented, so like everybody around me feels accomplished, and I volunteer at like free clinics and women's health centers because I believe in those causes, because I believe that my community should have access to healthcare. And ultimately there is nothing I am less pleased with than an untold story or an unfinished story. And I think everybody should get a chance to tell their story, which is why I thought the scholarship was such a cool idea.
Again, lovely meeting you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so
No.
grateful for your time and for this opportunity.
Hey YouTube, if you enjoyed this person's story, don't forget to subscribe below to hear more from our inspiring youth. If you want to apply for our Storyteller Scholarship or get more involved in our organization, click the link below to apply. Thanks for watching!